Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, and if it's your first time here, welcome. I know it's probably a lot of you first times here. Welcome guys, my name is Mondina and we'll get to talk, we'll get to know more about each other. But today's video is all about investing in the stock market for beginners. When I say beginners, I mean regular people like me, like everyday people who are just going about their business, who don't know anything about anything. Literally, like full transparency, I am not a financial advisor. I did not go to school for business or finance. I got my degree in biology. I'm pursuing my master's in public health right now, but that is far from finance and all of these things. But I really wanted to know more about this, so I actually went on this journey where I started to research things. And yeah, so I feel like I'm at a good place now where I'm actually starting to learn these things, and I kind of wanted to make this video just to track my own journey. So I kind of want to see how far I've gone, especially because I started getting into this thing, and it's getting really interesting. I started to make money, so I was like, you know what, let me just start tracking this and actually share what I've learned so far with people. So hopefully someone will get inspired too, because when I first heard about stock market investing, when I first heard this, I was like, listen, you gotta be some type of somebody to to start it. I thought it was just so hard. It was really intimidating to get started. There were so many hard terms. I was just like, oh no. But it's actually it's actually really easy so far. You just have to take the time to actually get to learn these things. So I kind of just wanted to just start this series, just start talking about it. So we'll see how that goes, right? So first of all, before we get started, let's talk about why now. Why is now a good time to start investing in the stock market? So, as you guys probably know, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the stock market actually crashed. So I was listening to all these podcasts, and they were like, oh my God, like shout out to all those people who lost money in the stock market and all that. Like, it was just such a big thing. Like whenever and it's so crazy that people are actually not talking about this, because whenever there's a sale online, like all my friends will tell me about it online. Like everybody will talk about this, but I didn't hear anybody say anything about this. It wasn't until I heard the podcast and I was watching articles. I was reading articles and just listening to these people talk, and they were just talking about how much of a hit the stock market is taken because of this pandemic. A lot of companies were losing so much money, and that basically stocks are on sale, because everything is just so cheap and companies are just struggling right now. So I was just like, you know what, like this is really interesting. And then Nika, shout out to Nika, my friend, she messaged me. She's like, sis, like we got to get on this. Let's start learning about this. So that's how I kind of got started. I started to research more because I've always been interested, but it's just the fear. I've always been so intimidated when it comes to these things. I thought you'd have to go to school for it, or you'd have to spend hours and hours of research. So I was just like, no. But it's actually I'm finding it to be so much easier than I thought. So yeah, I want to share, and hopefully that goes really well. So let's get started. So like I mentioned before, the market goes through these periods where it goes up, which is called a market bull. Yeah, so it's called market bull when it goes up, and a market bear when it goes down. So right now the market is suffering basically, and everything is on sale. So now let's talk about what that means. That means that all stocks are on sale. Now, I love me a good sale, and I know y'all probably love a good sale too, and the stocks are on sale. So before we start talking about this, let's just start, going over some terminologies that are gonna come up later in the video, just so we're on the same page. So a stock, first, what is a stock, right? So a stock is part of a company. So whenever you go and you purchase a stock, that means that you are part owner of that company. Now, a lot of the apps, we'll get to talk more about different apps and what they do later on, but some apps will allow you to buy one full stock, and some other apps will allow you to also buy something called fractional shares. So shares are also, some people will refer to a stock as a share of a company, but some apps, like I was saying, they will allow you to buy fractional shares, which is a portion of one share. So one stock. So when I'll probably do a video later on about my portfolio, about the apps that I use and the different stocks that I own. But basically, let's say Fitbit, actually I own one share of Fitbit. So if you don't want to go ahead and buy one full Fitbit stock, you can actually actually buy a fractional share, which means that you own a fraction of one share of Fitbit. Now those fractional shares are even cheaper, and you make more money if you own just one stock of the company, but that is an option too. If you don't want to go in too aggressively, if you want to just put in a little bit, different apps will allow you to do different things, but that's for later. I feel like that could even be a whole different video in itself. But essentially, a stock just lets you become an owner of that company. Let's think about a pie. So a company, they have a full pie, right? Let's say they take that pie and they divide it in 4 pieces just to make things even. Now, what they do to raise money is that they'll take 1/4 of that pie and they'll put that one piece of pie in on the stock market, and that is what will, those shares that they put on the stock market from that pie, that is what people come in and they'll buy a tiny piece of that one pie. Now one slice of pie is, allowing them to make more money. It increases their value, and that is why companies do this. So basically, whenever you own a stock, you can say that you own a part of that company. You can walk around and just say, yeah, I own a piece of Fitbit, what's up, like I'm an owner, so basically a stock just allows you to become an owner, and you can say for sure that you are a part owner of that company. Another term that we should talk about is stock market. What is the stock market? So again, I gave you guys the example of the pie. You take that one pie and you put it on the stock market. The stock market is basically, just think of like this big place that everyone goes to. Back in the days, it used to be this place in New York, I believe. See, that's how you know. I think it used to be in New York, where a bunch of people go, and it was just this big thing where you come in and you can buy shares that way, you can buy stocks that way, or you can sell your stocks. So let's say I own this one share of Fitbit and it was worth $500. Again, I can go on the stock market with my one share of Fitbit and I can just say, hey, I have this one share here, I would like to sell it to you, and then I would give that one share and they would give me $500 for it. Or let's say I just have $500 and I don't own any shares, I can go to the stock market and I can buy a share that way. So that used to be done in person years ago, but that's all been changed. So now you can do it online as well. It's mostly done online now through apps, a bunch of online is basically the biggest platform now. So the stock market just allows you to purchase stocks, or you can actually buy stocks that way too. There's another thing that you can also do, which is the most exciting part about learning about all of this, which I've learned, is called options trading. Options trading is basically where you are basically just guessing whether a company's value is going to increase or decrease, and you can actually buy stocks in that company and you can sell them. So what they will do is that you can, when you're buying them, you first have to buy those stocks, right? So you buy those stocks and you can put in a put order, which is basically saying that the value of the company is going to decrease, and you can buy a call order, which says that the value of the company is going to increase. So you're basically putting in a bet essentially, and you can put it for a specific amount of time. So you can say, a week from now, this company is going to be this price, and if you're right, you get to sell all of those stocks that you did buy and you make so much money, and if you're wrong, you kind of lose that money. So it's a bet, but that's totally optional. You do not have to do this. It requires you to be much more strategic, but that comes later. So options trading is definitely something that you can do once you start learning more about the stock market. You can actually, I would not recommend starting with options trading. I would first start, building your portfolio. You start buying individual stocks, you diversify your portfolio, which we'll talk more about later. But you start buying individual stocks, and once you feel more comfortable and you have practice, you basically have, a strategy, and you can get comfortable, then you can start selling every day. And it's all about how you feel, and the more comfortable you get, then the more you advance things you could do. But for now, this video is all about just long-term investment and just how to get started. So I feel like, because I'm still learning about options trading, I feel like I'm definitely going to do a video later on just to tell you guys more about what I've learned. Let me know in the comments if you'd like to see that video. But yeah, I'm definitely going to make a video about that later on. For now, I just want to tell you guys how to get started, but just on the long-term investment route. So another term that we should talk about is dividends. So dividends basically I like to think of dividends as passive income. So basically what happens is that when you own a company, so again, I'm just gonna keep referring to my Fitbit, right? So I bought a share of Fitbit, so I own a stock of Fitbit. Let's say that Fitbit makes a profit at the end of the year. Because I am a part owner of Fitbit, if they are allowing us as an owners, if they're allowing owners to have a part of that company, they also can give us some of that profit. Now, all companies should do this. That's just my belief. I'm really just confused as to why that's not a thing. Like, I'm giving you money, essentially. Like, yes, you know, like I paid for it, and you know, they're giving me something, but I'm giving them something too, because when you are buying shares of a company, you're helping them fundraise too. Most companies do, but some of them do not. They are not entitled to. The companies that usually don't are the bigger companies, right? So companies like Amazon that are constantly growing, they do not have to give anybody a dividend. On the app that I use, I will show you guys at some point. I use Robinhood personally, but on the Robinhood app, and once you scroll down, I might actually just attach it here, you guys will see, but once you start scrolling down, you will see an area. When you see the statistic, it will tell you, you know, the highest that company's been worth, the lowest it's been worth, and it'll tell you how much the dividends yield is. So it will tell you a small percentage. So for companies, let's say a company might be 5.99%. So 5.99% just means that is the percentage that they will give you from their profits. Now, dividends are usually paid, it depends on the company, but some of them will pay you yearly, they can pay you monthly, they can pay you quarterly, but it depends on the company. But let's refer back to this one company that's 5.99%. So that means from their profit, they will give you 5.99 in total. So now let's say that they are giving out their dividends annually. You're just gonna get that 5.99 and that's it. If they are paying you monthly, that means that they're going to do 5.99 divided by 12. So that's how much you're going to be paid monthly. So companies are not entitled to giving you a dividends, but most of them do. And something people usually do is that they will actually invest on stocks depending on the company that gives them the highest amount of dividends, which I'm learning isn't necessarily a good thing. A lot of videos that I've watched talk about how that can actually be misleading, because companies will give you, GameStop is an example, right? GameStop has a really high dividend yield, so that means that you would think that you're just gonna get so much money from them, so much of a payout, right? But they're not making as much money, and the value of the company is actually so much lower now because people are not buying games anymore. You know, they're buying games online. So it really depends. You can't really buy stocks depending on the dividends. So yes, it is a passive income. It is a way to make an income. Some people actually live off of their dividends, and some people actually, there's a family that I watched on YouTube that retired, they're living off of their dividends. So this is something that you can make money off, but it's more strategic. It really depends on the company, and that one, it really just depends, you know. But that's what a dividend is. Dividends is basically just a percentage of the profit that you get from a company, and that's just a payout that they give you at the end. Okay, so now that we've talked about the different terms, let's talk about how to even get started. So the first thing that you're gonna do is that you're gonna sign up for a brokerage account. That's basically an account that will allow you to start investing. Robinhood is one of the apps that allow you to start investing. Now, before I even signed up for this, y'all, I was so skeptical because I've always seen, again, this is back to the fear, the intimidation, right? I've always seen so many apps that are like, here, you can start with just $1. This and like, there were just so many of those all the time. And I always thought they were scams, like always, like I never ever believed, but I actually did so much research, and there are so many pros, and they're not scams, they're really not. There are just so many pros and cons of all of those apps, and that's something that I actually spent hours researching to figure out, you know, which one would be best. So that actually can be a separate video too, where I can talk to you guys about the different apps. But after doing all of this research, I found that the Robinhood app was the best way to get started, just because they don't charge you a fee to do any trading. They don't charge you any fee to get started, and everything on the app is actually free, and it's a very beginner friendly app. So that's what I personally use. That could be a different video, honestly, it really could, but Robinhood is the app that I use, and that's what you're gonna do. You're gonna need to sign up for an account that allows you to start investing. When you first sign up, you're gonna have to prove who you are. You put in your information, and you basically just have to prove your identity, because again, this is very serious. You're investing in a company. They just want to make sure that you are who you say you are. You basically just have to prove that, you know, you're real and that you're not, you know, I don't know, it's from another planet. So basically you're gonna have to sign up and you can get to investing. So actually in another video, I'm getting, like, just from this, I'm getting so many ideas of videos that I could do, because I know this video can get really long and I don't want to put all the information on there. But if you guys would like to see my portfolio on Robinhood and the different stocks that I own and the different stocks that I'm actually, there's something on called a watch list on Robinhood, which are basically a bunch of stocks that you can watch, and I have a bunch of stocks on there that I'm just watching every day, just to see the changes, just to see if they're going up and down, you know. So those are just the things that you can do on there. Robinhood gives you news about each individual app most of the time, so you can see what's going on in the news, and you actually get analyst reviews. So basically whenever you get to an app and you're not really sure how it's doing, it shows you the graph and it shows you exactly if the company went up or down. You can see it up to 5 years back on how the company's done, and you can actually get analyst report that tells you, you know, whether you should buy that company or you should, you know, sell it if it's just not gonna come back, you know. So it tells you a lot, so that's why I really like it. But basically you sign up for an app, you have an account, and then boom, you can get started. I definitely forgot to mention this, but if you do use the link in my bio to sign up for Robinhood, you will get a free stock to get you started up to $500, and they'll hook me up with one too, so definitely use that link to get you started. So now we're gonna get into some tips, okay? So far from all of my research, all of I found out, those are just the top things that they have said that you just need to make sure that you are doing before you get into the game. So tip number 1, you ready? The biggest tip that I have learned so far is that you need to diversify your portfolio. Everywhere you go, everywhere you, like, they're always gonna tell you diversify your portfolio. Your portfolio is basically just like just a portfolio of stocks, right? So basically you want to make sure that it's diverse. You don't want to have all of your stocks in one industry. What does that mean? So let's say just technology, right? You have a certain amount of money and then you go ahead and you buy Google, Facebook, Amazon. That is basically just one industry. Usually those will do really well, because especially now that we're, you know, staying home, like, people are always buying things on Amazon, people are using Facebook, so all those apps are always going to do well for the most part because they're from the same industry, right? But you don't want to do that. Netflix, for example, right? So now that people are staying home, Netflix is doing really, really well, right? Let's say in your portfolio you only own apps that are kind of like Netflix, so Zoom, all of these apps that are just online apps. Let's say you only have those in your portfolio. Now during quarantine, you're probably doing really well. You're probably making money because everyone is staying home and they are using these, and you only have those in your portfolio. Now, what happens a year from now when people are outside and people are, you know, out and about and, you know, they're living life? People are Netflix is probably still going to do well, but you don't want to just rely on just this one industry. You want to make sure that you also have other options. So what they say is that you should diversify your portfolio. You should have stocks in technology, the healthcare industry. You know, make sure you just don't put all of your eggs in one basket, because you never know. So make sure that you're buying stocks from all industries. So, you know, airlines, just technology, food, healthcare, all of those things. Make sure that you're just buying from everywhere if you can. So whenever you're thinking about let's say you have $100 and you're trying to figure out where to put that, maybe you should put half of it in one industry and just put the other half somewhere else. So that's one thing you should think about whenever you are starting. The second thing you need to do is that you need to make sure that you are researching the company. So one thing I really like about Robinhood is that they tell you about the companies. So whenever you go, again, you can look at the charts and see exactly how that company has done over time. If you go to the app and it has a high sell percentage from analysts, basically that means that everybody is selling the app. Don't even go and buy it. You could, it's risky, you could do it, but analysts are saying not to. So analyst reviews are something that I take into account, but you should not just rely on those. Again, you should research those companies. So I like to go on investopedia.com, and there are a bunch of other resources too that literally what I started doing is Apple a good stock to buy in May 2020, for example, right? So like you could literally just go on Google and type those in, and you will find so many websites that break it down for you. You'll find analysts, videos, just so many people that talk about those same stocks, and you will have people who actually listen to the calls, whenever they do their yearly reviews, their quarterly review. Like you have people who go to those. If you don't want to do the work, and that's totally fine, because I'm not listening to no call annual reports. Like on Robinhood, we get those notifications all the time, so if we want to, we can actually go and listen to those, but I'm not doing that. But you should still do your research on the companies, but it's okay to also listen to people who do that research. You know what I'm saying? So definitely make sure that you are looking into the companies before you go and buy. And what I suggest doing is putting them on your watch list too. So watch them for like a month, for a few weeks, and see how they're doing. Especially be conscious of like the time that we're in. Like don't go and buy something that you don't think is going to do well in like a year or two. Think long term, okay? So if you buy a company now, make sure that it's something that you actually want to keep. And yeah, just do your research on the company. Another tip is to be patient, okay? So one thing that they like to say in the investing world is buy low and sell high. So what you want to do, especially right now during this crisis that the stocks they're cheaper than they usually are, you buy them low and you hold on to them. Over time, those values, it depends on the company and the industry, of course, but let's say airlines. I'm guessing that airline shares are going to increase over time because people are not flying right now, so they are super cheap. But a year or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 from now, airline prices are definitely going to increase, especially depending on the airline that you buy. So you want to be patient and just wait for the value of that company to increase. And then if you want to sell it, you should do it then. But do not go ahead and just sell your company as soon as you make a little bit of money. Investing is better if you do it in the long term, especially for taxing purposes, which we'll talk about at the end. I will go in much more details about this in another video, but basically you want to hold on to your stocks as long as possible. If you hold on to them for a minimum of 365 days, so hold on to them for at least a year, the US will charge you a tax rate of 15% when you do decide to sell it. But if you do decide to sell them a little bit earlier, they're going to tax you now at a regular income tax rate, which is higher than 15%. So you're going to pay so much more in taxes if you decide to sell them way early. So hold on to your stocks. You want to do this long term. Don't sell them too fast. You will regret it. I would be really tight if I went and I bought, let's say, Netflix, right? Let's say I bought Netflix when it first came out. A year or 2 later, Netflix probably made so much money. And if I was an investor that was just like, oh my God, I made so much money, let me sell my Netflix stock right now and make that money, I would be really mad right now because I sold my stock 2-3 years ago, but now that everyone is staying home and they're all watching Netflix, the value of Netflix has actually increased even more. So I could have made even more money now, but I sold it back then. So you don't want to be impatient when you're investing. You want to hold on to your stocks. You don't want to rush it because you never know what can happen. 5 years from now, the value of that company can even increase. It might have more success. So you want to hold on to them. Remember that investment is a long-term game. So you want to wait and hold on to your stock. You buy them low and then you sell them when they're really, really high and you think, all right, they've peaked, then you could sell it. But hold on to your stocks. Do not sell them as soon as you make a little bit of money. Don't do that. Another tip is to not put your emergency funds into investing. My goodness, I could not picture me putting all of my little bit of money and saying, you know what, I'm gonna cross my fingers and just hope that, like Netflix goes up in the next year or 2, and just like, no, that is really crazy. Do not do that. The stock market is so volatile. Like it literally will go up and down. It's really crazy, and you cannot Like, just do not do that. If you're a beginner especially, do not do that. Make sure that you are putting money that you can actually just put in the stock market and just forget about it. Literally just put the money and just go. Only put in what you can afford to lose. That's what I like to think of it as. So let's say you are in a good place where you're making money and you're like, you know what, I can afford to take $100 a month and put into the stock market. So make sure that you are making a budget for yourself. So take that $100, put it in the stock market, buy a few stocks, and say, you know what, like, even if I lose that $100, like, I'm good. So make sure that you get into a routine and, you know, put in money every so often, but make sure that that's money that you actually can just leave in there and forget about it. Do not put in your savings. You know, like, you can put in your savings, because that's like a different thing, you know, where you actually are saving money and you want to put into investing, and then you can actually wait for that money to, you know, reproduce. Like, that's its own different thing. There are so many different ways to invest. Buying individual stocks is a little bit more risky, but, you know, make sure that's a risk that you can actually take. Okay, to find out what works for you, there are so many ways to invest. You can do long-term trading. You can do long-term saving, which is actually the best part. You actually just buy a bunch of stocks, you leave the money in there, and you just watch your money grow over time. You know, there are stocks that you buy, especially right now that the stock market has crashed. You buy a bunch of cheap stock that, you know, a month from now, or not a month, because it's not going to be over in a month, but you buy a stock now, and a year from now, you know for sure that that stock is probably going to do well. Let's think about Uber, right? Right now, Uber is cheap because people are not really, you know, going out as much. Airlines are cheap because people are not flying as much. This is something that you know for sure is going to increase with time. So make sure that you are doing what's best for you. Make sure that you're doing what you can afford. Do not put your eggs in one basket, and make sure that you're figuring out what works for you. Long-term saving is everyone always says that long-term saving is the best one. So you can do that. That is the safest way to get started. The next tip is to figure out what is best for you. What is your plan? What is the reason why you want to invest in the stock market? Granted, I did say in the beginning that this is the best time just because stocks are on sale. So yes, you want to. You know, I feel like everybody should invest in the stock market, and I'm really so sad that this is something that just seems so intimidating, because this is something that is just like it's passive income, really. So everybody should do it. Everyone should know about it. So I feel like everyone should do it, but at the same time, you should really figure out what is best for you. There are so many different ways to invest. You could invest in real estate. You can invest for a savings account. You know, I know there are Roth IRAs, a saving account. There are, you know, retirement accounts. There is long-term investment. There's options trading, which I talked about earlier today. So don't just go and start, you know, basically, like, for, let's say, options trading, right? You're a beginner, and then you say, you know what, I'm gonna start betting. Boom. Amazon, you're gonna go down today, and then you say it's gonna go down. You put in put order, and then you lose all your money. Like, you know, it's like, don't just go into it and just like put all your eggs in one basket, which I talked about. Don't figure it out. What is your long-term goal? What is it that you want to do? Do you want to just put your money in there and just watch it grow over time? Do you want to make some money right now? So figure it out. Again, this is the best time, but do not rush into it just because it's the best time. Like, definitely open up an app and, you know, buy a few stocks, you know, start that way, but don't rush into it and just put in all your money. Definitely do some research first. That's a really biggest part of this. You know, do some research. And when I say research, I really just don't mean like looking for hours. It's like, no, but just like watch some YouTube videos. That's research. You know, just like look into the stuff first before you actually go and just jump right in. That's it, guys. That is it for today's video. I hope you guys got inspired by this. You know, I hope someone somewhere was just like, hey, you know what, maybe this is something that I can actually do. So I hope this was informative. I hope you guys just believe in yourself and like just believe that you can do it too, because this is really not difficult, and it is such a good way to get involved into something else. And you know, it's a good way to make money, you know, without having a 9-to-5. So I definitely feel like it's interesting, and everybody should do it. So I hope this inspired you to look more into it. If you guys want to see more videos about this, let me know. I feel like this could be a whole little series that I could do, but let me know if you guys want to see a video on my portfolio on Robinhood. I can actually show you guys my stocks and tell you guys, you know, why I have them. I can even do a video on options trading. I'm learning about it now, so you know, I can tell you guys what I've learned, and you know, we can learn together. together. So definitely let me know if you guys want to see that. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. That will definitely help me out and let YouTube know what's up, you know what I'm saying? So definitely like the video and show your support, and make sure you subscribe to my channel if you like this video for more. Bye guys, I will see you guys later. Thank you for watching. Bye.